Okay, good afternoon everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Alright, myself Rajiv, and welcome to the training for today. As all of you know that we have introduced cigars in our portfolio. So from first onwards we will have cigars as a part of our beverages and other areas, and all the outlets will start selling it. Yeah. So Mr. Pavan is here. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. He will be introducing us the cigars as well as he will be doing the training, the first part of the training today. How we're going to hold it, how is the basic things of cigars, how the cigar has been made. So please take notes. It's a very, very important training for all of you, and I hope you will take advantage, a full advantage of it, and please enjoy. Yeah? And repeat.
Hi everyone, my name is Pavan Sharma and I'm the Assistant Manager in Sales and Marketing from Chingari. So Chingari is the brand name of the Habano cigars in India. The official distributor name is Ras Intertech Private Limited, as you can see on the screen. So Ras Intertech Private Limited have been the exclusive distributors of Habano cigars since 1935. So Chingari was the one who actually introduced the cigar culture in India in 1996. Before that, the cigars were completely banned in India. So it's our chairman, Mr. Chetan Seth, who has also done the amendment, of some rules and regulations regarding the cigars. He himself has written down the amendment and the important rules and regulations for the cigars. Since then, the journey has started and the cigars were made legal, and many of the other brands are now also available. But the Chingari is the first and the only distributor of Habano cigars since 1996 in India. Right? So first of all, you see, the cigars that you would be selling, they are the Cuban cigars. But the Cuban cigars are famous with the name of Habanos all across the world. Right? Why the Cuban cigars are termed as Habanos? Because since it says unique since 1492, that means the Cuban cigars are available in the world since 14th century, and how they came into play, I'll tell you the story about it. But the most important thing is there is a very famous port in Cuba that is called as Havana. So the cigars that were imported or exported through that port Havana, the Russians, the Europeans, they started calling the Cuban cigars as Habanos. So Habanos, because the Cuban cigars are exported from the port Havana, so that is the reason why termed as Habanos, right? So the Habanos, they're available in 150 countries across the world now, and this is the most famous and the most selling cigars in the world, since it is being sold since 14th century. And this Cuban cigar is basically termed as the Bentley in a cigar industry. So the way the Bentley cars, the people buying and maintaining the Bentley cars, it's not possible for everyone, right? The same way buying and smoking the Cuban cigars, it's not possible for everyone. Though we have nowadays very different brands available which can fit into the middle range people's pocket, but still the majority of the Indian market rely on the Habano cigars, because most of the the communities of the cigars, they are the fans and the biggest smokers of Habano cigars in India. Right? So first of all, I'll tell you the story how the Cuban cigars came into play since 14th century. In 14th century, we cannot even imagine that how the people could have found out a way of rolling a tobacco leaf and making it as a cigar and smoking it. So you all must have heard about a famous traveler, Christopher Columbus, right? So once he was traveling through Cuba, he traveled from United States, and Cuba is nearby to United States, if you know that. So Cuba is basically an island. So he was passing by through Cuba. He was going to Europe. So he actually had a very pleasant smell coming up from a small island. So he asked his fellow members that from where this smell is coming from. So the fellow members, they found out that the the smell is coming from that small island. So he asked them to stop the ship at that particular island because that smell was so pleasant that it actually made him to stop and find out that what that smell is all about. So when he stopped at the island, he went to the island and he found that few tribal peoples, they were picking up the plant leaves, they were rolling the leaves and they were smoking the leaves. So he asked them what actually is this, because it is giving a very pleasant smell. So those tribal people, they told him that this is basically a a tradition that we are following since a long time, and when we smoke this leaf, it basically gives us very a pleasant feeling. So this is why we smoke it. So this taking up this idea and seeing this idea of leaf being smoked, so from there he went to Europe, and Europe at that time was obviously a very big market, and we had educated people in there in Europe. So he went to Europe and he gave this idea to the European people, and this is how the Europeans, they started invading the Cuba, and found the cigars. So the major role of the Habano cigars being the best in the industry and being the best in the number one is of Spain, because Spain has ruled for many long years in Cuba, and Spain was the only country that actually did the work of setting up the industries, the factories for making up the cigars in Cuba, and this also actually led to the development of the civilization and the industrialization in Cuba, and still at present also the basic livelihood of the people, it all depends upon the cigar cultivation and the manufacturing. Other than that, there is no source of living for them. Apart from that, tourist is also the source of living for them. But the major is still the cultivation and the manufacturing of the tobacco in Cuba. So we always get to know that the Cuban cigars are the world's best cigars. Though we have different other brands as well in the market, why the Cuban cigars are the best in the market? The first reason is the Cubans, they are available since 14th century, and the other brands, they have just started like in 98 or 2000. So there's no match of the Cubans with the other brands. We'll keep the other brands aside. First and the most important thing is the land, the soil, and the climate. These are the three important things which is very much important for any land or any country or any brand to produce the number one cigar. The land the Cuba has, it's basically an island which is surrounded by three types of oceans. One is the Caribbean Sea, one is the Gulf of Mexico, and one is the Atlantic Ocean. So since three water bodies are surrounding the Cuba, so the the water minerals that Cuban soil is getting, that minerals is not being found till now in any part of the world. This is the reason why the Cuban soil grows the best tobacco in the world. Second is the climate. As you know that the cigars, they need a particular level of temperature and particular level of humidity to be in a best of a condition to provide you a best of aroma. So this level of climate condition is only found in Cuba and nowhere else, and that's all natural. Third, the main reason why it's the number one in the cigar, number one in the world, it's so famous, that since 14th century until now, though the many improvisations have been done, We have seen, how civilizations have changed years and years, right? How India was like 100 years before and how India is now. But the most important thing is in 14th century also there was no tool used to do the manufacturing or the cultivation of cigar, and even in 21st century there is no tool used for the cultivation or the manufacturing of cigars. All is done with the help of hands. As I told you that this is the only livelihood available for the people of Cuba, and they have been doing it since ages. So this process is still followed as a tradition. So more of a being a popular cigar, manufacturer, or being a popular cigar in the world, it is also popular in terms of following the traditions. The traditions that were started since 14th century, in 21st century also, the same traditions are being followed. This makes the Cuban cigars different and the famous in the world, right? So, as I told you that the Cuban land is surrounded by 3 water bodies. So it is not that the whole Cuban island is used for the cultivation of the tobacco. There are 4 regions that have been divided in Cuba, which are used for the cultivation of the tobacco leaves for the Habano cigars. One is Volta Bira, second is Partido, third is Semi Volta, and third is Volta Abao. So the 4th region, Volta Abao, that is the most and the very famous region for the cultivation of the tobacco leaves for the Habano cigars, and this is the most famous land found on the entire earth for for the cultivation of the Habano cigars or the tobacco leaves. So no land in the world can match this 4th area in terms of climate, in terms of land, in terms of soil, in terms of climatic condition. So this is the most important part of a land in Cuba for the cultivation of tobacco leaves. So I'll show you one slide over here from which you will get an idea that why the Cuban cigars are very famous.
There are in the world just a few things that are known without question to be the best of their kind. A Habano, or Havana cigar, is one. Nowhere in the world grows tobacco better than Cuba, but even there, only a few selected farms are just good enough to grow tobacco for Habanos. These are called the Vegas Finas de Primera, first-class fields. There are 4 regions in Cuba where tobacco is cultivated for Habano cigars. Puerto Rico, Partido, Semi-Huerta, and Puentabao. This last region, located in Pinar del Rio province, is considered to be the finest cigar tobacco growing land in the world. All enjoy the naturalness of the Cuban soil and the Cuban climate that are found nowhere else.
Okay, now this is the cigar. Now we'll get to learn about the main constituents of the cigars, right? How it is made, what are the main parts of the cigar. So, a cigar is divided in 3 parts. One is the filler, one is the binder, and one is the wrapper. The topmost layer of the cigar that you see is called the wrapper, which always must be pleasant to an eye. Right? So it's basically a human nature. Even if we go out and buy something, so you don't get to see what's inside that packet, right? It's the outer surface of the packet that actually, you feel, after seeing it, you feel so pleasant that you actually find out to, buy it without checking that what exactly you have inside that packet. So the outer surface, it's very much important. This is basically the wrapper, the most important part, which is pleasant to an eye. This is how it increases the appeal of a person of buying a cigar. So the first part is the filler that we'll talk about. So basically there are two plants that I use that are, the cultivation is done. One is the Criollo plant and one is the Crojo plant. So the filler and binder, they are made with the help of a Criollo plant, and the wrapper is made from the Crojo plant. So what's the difference, in the cultivation of both the plants? The Criollo plant is grown in a direct sunlight and it is matured for 12 months. Whereas the Crojo plant, that is grown in a shadow. I would say, if you have seen in the agriculture fields, there are tents of a cheesecloth, right? What they use for to allow a filtered or a less sunlight to pass through and reach the plants. So the Crojo plants, they are grown under the tents of a cheesecloth in order to make sure they get a very less sunlight, right? So the Criollo plant, as it is used to make the filler and the binder. So the Criollo plant is divided into three parts. One is the ligero. So the topmost leaves of the Criollo plant, they are called as ligero. The second, the middle part is known as the seco, and the bottom part is known as volado. Right? So, and the same with the Crojo plant, there are two parts. One is the upper leaves and one is the bottom leaves. So since Crojo plant is grown in a shadow, in a shadow way, under the tent of a cheesecloth. So the upper the Crojo plant, so the wrapper would be darker in color. But if the leaf is plucked from the bottom of the Crojo plant, which is obviously a light in color because it's getting a less sunlight, so it would be a light in color. So you would never find all the cigars in a box in a same color. It could be a darker, it could be a lighter. So the packing is done in such a manner that from darker to lighter, it's left to right. So this is to, you have to make sure that even if your customer comes and he asks you that, you have your box of cigars, but this cigar is light of a particular brand and this cigar is darker. Why, it is actually, why there is a color difference? Is the cigars defected? You have to say that the cigars are not defected. It is because of the plant leaf that is used to make the wrapper. So since the cigar is, the wrapper is darker color, that means this leaf has been taken from the topmost part of the Crojo plant. So if the cigar is lighter in color, that means the leaf has been taken from the bottom part of the Crojo plant. Right? Everybody clear about the wrapper?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there any taste different
Sorry?
from the color? Is there any taste different in?
No. Wrapper has nothing to do with the taste of the cigar. It is just to please the eye of the customer.
No light, no heavy.
No, I'll tell you the taste, light, heavy, it depends upon the filler and binder, but the wrapper has nothing to do with the taste or anything. It is just to please the eye. You buy a chocolate in the store, right? The chocolate is there inside the wrapper, but you don't eat the wrapper, right? So when you open the wrapper, then you see how the chocolate is and you eat it and find out what the taste is. The wrapper is just to please your eye. The same way the wrapper for the cigar is just to please the eye of a customer that he finds actually, interesting to look at and buy the cigar. So the tasting, aroma, combustibility, it all depends upon the two parts, that is the filler and binder, that are inside the wrapper. Now, if the wrapper is clear for you, we'll come to the filler and binder again. Right?
Clear.
So, what is actually a filler? Filler is the most important part. I'll give you a simple example. If some of you must be the cigarette smokers, right? So inside the white roll of a paper, you see the crushed tobacco leaves, right? So that is called as a filler. So filler has different functionalities, and that too binder also. So filler is how the filler is made. So I've told you that Criollo plant has three parts: ligero, seco, and volado. Ligero is used for strength, seco is used for aroma, and volado is used for combustibility. So the filler is made with the help of each part of this plant. One leaf would be picked from Ligero, one would be picked from Seco, one would be picked from Volato. So these three leaves would be used in order to make the filler of the cigar, right? And always remember, Ligero part is always kept in the middle of the two leaves, right? Now will come up that, what would be the taste of the cigar? I mean, what strength, how can you find the strength of the cigar? So when you would start selling, or even I've given you the tasting notes as well. So some of the cigars says light, some would says medium, and some says full, right? So this strength of a cigar is defined with the help of a binder. So if you would use Ligero as a binder in order to roll the fillers, binder is basically used to hold the fillers so that the filler doesn't move out of the cigar. So if the binder is made with the help of the Ligero leaf, then the strength of the cigar would be full. If the binder would be made with the help of a Seco leaf, then the middle part of the plant, then the strength of the cigar would be medium. If the bottom leaf is used as a binder in order to roll the filler, in that case the strength of the cigar would be light. Any question till now?
Yes. What was the duration of that Rosso plant? As you told, for the Criollo is 12 months.
Crojo is 12 and Criollo is 12, Crojo is 18 months.
What was the third? That's Ligero, Seco, and third one?
Volato.
B-O?
L-A-D-O.
If only Ligero plant, like Ligero leaf will fill that, in filler maybe only Ligero, then what will happen?
The filler bottom or top? It's a binder.
Filler is made with the help of three leaves: Ligero, Seco, Volato.
If
Right.
we will
So
make only,
I told you Ligero is used for strength, Seco for aroma, and Volato for combustibility. So if you don't have aroma and combustibility in your cigar, then how you will burn the cigar and how you will find that aroma smoking the cigar. So it's important for all the three leaves to be there. Yeah. Combustibility means how quickly the cigar will burn.
Ligero is for strength.
Ligero for strength,
Seco is
Seco for aroma, and Volato is for combustibility.
Two distinct forms of cultivation produce different types of leaf required. One is for wrapper leaves, which are grown in tapao or covered fields shaded from end to end by a muslin cloth that filters the sunlight and traps the heat so the leaves grow larger and finer. Lower leaves supply the lighter colored wrapper. Upper leaves produce the darker colors. The other is for filler and binder leaves, which are grown in the open, enjoying the full benefit of the human sun. There are three main types of leaf taken from different levels on the plant. Ligero, from the top for full flavored filler leaves. Seco, from the middle for medium flavored leaves, the most important for aroma. And Volato, from the bottom of the plant for lighter flavored fillers, especially valued for their combustibility, as well as binders.
So as I've told you that, in order to find out that what would be the strength of a cigar, if the top part of the plant, the leaf from the top of the plant will be used in order to make the binder, then in that case the strength of the cigar would be full. If the middle one is used, in that case the strength of the cigar would be medium. And if the bottom one is used as a binder, in that case the strength of the cigar would be light. So the filler is same in all the cases, in all the cigars. 3 leaves, Ligero, Seco, Colado, Ligero plays in the middle, right? Or the only change that we do is with a binder. If we use the top leaf as a binder, in that case it makes the strength of a cigar full. You know, I'm giving an example for Cohiba. Let's say Cohiba is making cigar, right? Cohiba brand will use Ligero as their binder leaf because they're making Cohiba as a full flavored cigars. If we used as, you know, Monte Cristo, so Monte Cristo mostly makes medium flavored cigars, right? So what they would do, they would be using the Seco leaf as a binder leaf in order to make the medium strength cigars. If we talk about the JLP they provides the light strength cigars. So they would be using Volado as their as the binder, and that is how they are making the light strength cigars. So everything is same in all the patterns. Everything is same with all the brands. Only they are changing the binder with the leaf in order to make sure that what particular strength they are famous for, they are providing the strength, by using the right type of leaf. Okay. Any question?
Work starts in the burning heat of June and July and continues without respite.
So the cultivation of the tobacco, it basically starts from June to July and it ends February and March, right? So this is not that type of cultivation that the plants are grown and they'll be picked up in February or March. So this plant, from doing the seeding and plant being grown, it takes 30 to 45 days, right? So once the plants are being plucked, another seedlings are, they're given to the soil, another plant grows. So because since they have a very small region in order to grow the cultivation or do the cultivation of the tobacco plants, and they also have to fulfill the demand of the world, what number of cigars they're asking for. So they have to make sure this process is completely going on for 9 to 10 months, and the total process of maturing of cigars and providing it to a market of, for the cigars, it takes complete 3 years, right? So it totally depends upon, 30 to 45 days being taken from, putting the seeds in the soil and the plant being growing. It takes 30 to 45 days. Then those plants are picked up. Then again, the seeds are provided to the soil. Those plants are taken up and sent for the process. So this whole process is done from June to Feb of the other year, right?
9 months. Seedlings are grown in special seed beds. After 45 days, they are ready to be planted out. Different fields are planted at different times so as to spread the burden of work in each season. The time from planting the seed to completion of harvest is around 17 weeks for shade-grown plants and 16 weeks for sun-grown. The farmer visits each plant around 150 times in the course of the growing season. Harvest is a laborious task because each leaf must be picked by hand.
So, as I've already told you that it's all man-made, right? It's all done through the help of hands. So now even the picking of the leaves, it's also done with the help of hands. No matter how much long it takes, they don't care. But it has to be done with the help of hands. So now these leaves, once they get matured, they are picked up one by one. So it's not that the cultivator can pick up the leaf from any part of the plant anytime. So if he is picking up the leaf, so he'll be collecting the topmost part of the leaves of a plant at one time. Then he'll pick the middle part of the leaves at one time, and then the bottom part of the leaf at the one time in the whole farm. So this is how they do the picking up of the leaves and doing the classification. And once the leaves are picked up, after that leaves are sent for the air curing for 30 days. Air curing is a process of removing the moisture from the leaves. If you must have seen आपने leaves देखी होंगी from fallen from the trees जो सूख जाती हैं, सूखे पत्ते, right? So this is called the air curing, and the process in which the air or the moisture is removed from a leaf ताकि वो सूख जाए. उसको सुखाने के लिए the air curing is done.
Only 2 or 3 leaves can be taken at a time, with days to wait between each picking. The harvesting of a single plant takes close to 30 days to complete. The harvested leaves are taken to the farmer's barn for air curing. It is a slow and careful period of air curing, which removes moisture and turns the leaf by stages to golden brown. The leaves are sewn in pairs and hung astride poles, which are placed on racks in the barn. As the leaf cures, so the pole is raised progressively higher in the racks. Once the leaf is cured, the farmer's job is done and the task passes to the escogida, or sorting house.
There is one thing. So we have talked about the strength. We have talked about the structure of a cigar. I mean the texture. It depends upon what type of leaf we are using. Now we will talk about the aroma or the taste of the cigar. How we get the taste of the Cuban cigars. So there is a myth, I would say. I mean, it's a myth or it's basically a fact. I mean, what other brands they do is they add artificial things in the cigars in order to provide certain aroma. But why the Cubans are famous? Because there is nothing artificial being added in the plants or in the cultivation of the Cuban tobacco leaves. So as we have discussed that, it's surrounded by 3 water bodies. So you can call it as a magic or something. This is actually, it happens there. Let's see, this is a complete land in Cuba. So what happens is there, due to their climatic conditions and due to the 3 water bodies meeting at one place, if we divide this in 4 sections, one section would give you, the soil actually would smell you like a taste of a coffee. One section would, smell like a taste of a wine. One would taste like a chocolate. So every part of a field have a different flavors within itself, and that's all natural. So this is how the taste, it comes up in the cigars. So if, let's say Monte Cristo number 4, it's planted in this field, right? So all Monte Cristo number 4 will give you a taste of or aroma of a coffee when you would be smoking it. Cigars grown there would be giving you aroma or taste of a wine. Cigars grown there would be giving you a taste of a chocolate or any other taste which you're familiar with. So this is how every part of the field of the soil of the land there, it has divided with that aroma. So you cannot imagine that यहाँ से मुझे यही मिलेगा, यहाँ से ये मिलेगा, but it's all naturally present there in their soil, which gives the aroma. So there is no artificial thing that's added, and this is the only reason, and this is the only land in the world where this magic happens, and there is no other land in the world where you find the natural aroma inside the soil, naturally itself, without adding any artificial thing to it. So now when the air curing of the leaves is done, then the leaves are sent to the factories for the fermentation process. So there are like couple of processes which are repeated 2 times. One is the fermentation 1. Fermentation is basically a process of putting the leaves in a high speed of water and removing the excess moisture and any sort of chemicals coming up through the soil into the leaves. After the fermentation 1, sorting and classification is done. Sorting and classification means in terms of texture, in terms of color, and in terms of size of the leaves. The leaves are sorted and classified. So this size of leaf, all the leaves would be kept at one place. Bigger size of leaves would be kept at one place. And also this, the color of the leaf should be same. The darker would be placed at the same side, on the left side, and the lighter would be placed on the right side. After this sorting and classification, then again fermentation 2 is use is done in order to be 100% sure that the moisture, all the moisture is gone and there is no further chemical or any outside fertilizer or anything is present, so it might not damage the aroma of the cigars. And again, the sorting and classification is done. That's the final stage where after the sorting and classification, it is kept at a room temperature for 30 days for the process being sent to the factories in order to get the start process of making the Habano cigar started. So we'll see a video now.
Wrapper and filler and binder leaves be now submitted to both wrapper and filler and binder leaves will be now submitted to a fermentation process which is done in pilones or piles for 25 to 30 days in order to soften leaves flavor. All the leaves must then be sorted and classified. Wrappers, as you might expect, get the closest attention. Size, color, and texture are the three criteria to guide the sorters. They are classified into a bewildering array of some 50 different categories designed to ensure that only the most perfect will ever dress a Habano. At this stage, the lower portion of the central vein is stripped out of filler and binder leaves. At the same time, they conduct the final classification into the three tiempos. Finally, leaves are stacked in small piles and pressed between boards. Filler and binder leaves are submitted to a second fermentation process, more intense than the first and at higher temperatures. After the second fermentation, filler and binder leaves are sorted and classified again, then packed in pacas or bales, which are transferred to Havana. Here, they will join the wrapper leaves packed in tercios, bales made from palm bark, for the final patient process of aging for different periods, sometimes for as long as 2 years. Like fine wine, the longer the leaf.
So once the final classification and sorting is done, after that the leaves, the wrapper leaves, the filler and binder leaves, they're all packed for the aging. The normal aging period is 2 years, but it also depends upon that if we talk about the limited edition. For limited editions, the aging starts from 5 years, minimum 5 years, and then go up to maximum like 12 to 15 years also. If we talk about the Cohiba Bahikes, which are the most expensive cigars in the world.
Which one?
Cohiba Bahike,
Spell of please. First one.
Behike.
What's left to mature, the better it will be. Time has done its work, and the leaf is now ready at last.
So now the leaves, after aging, they're transferred to the different factories of different brands.
Here in Cuban cigar factories, where craft has changed little in nearly 200 years. Precious wrappers are prepared for their final purpose in the mola, or moistening department. Here, the cavillas, bunches of 40 to 50 leaves, are held under a fine spray of pure water. The aim of this process is to give back their soft and uniform aspect as well as their elasticity. Excess droplets are then shaken off with practiced flourishes to avoid any staining. Later on, the leaves are hung on racks that are placed in the area department.
This process is done in order to create an elasticity in the wrapper leaves.
It will stay here
आप wrapper leaf को देखोगे ना, so more you try to stretch it, it will stretch to an extent, but उसके बाद it will break down, वो फट जाएगा wrapper.
tender hands.
So in order to create an elasticity in the wrapper leaves, this process is done.
Rezagado, raining. Despalillo consists of one movement that deftly removes the entire central vein of the leaf, leaving its two halves ready for rezagado. She gently grades them into some 20 finely distinguished sizes and shades. The number of women working in this department lends weight, perhaps, to the popular myth that Habanos are rolled on maidens' thighs. Filler and binder leaves are carefully removed from their bales for examination. If necessary, they are aired on racks to remove excess moisture. It is a remarkable feature of Cuban tobacco that such a small acreage of Vegas finas de primera can produce a wide variety of flavors from area to area. They call the blending department La Barajita, literally the pack of cards, because the process of assembling the leaves for a blend is similar to shuffling cards. There is an established link between the factory and the areas that supply the leaf for the brands it manufactures. Nevertheless, it is the master blender's responsibility to sample the flavor of tobaccos in use from day to day. He carries the recipe for each brand and size in his head and is guardian of their consistency. The ratio of each type of leaf that the master blender specifies for the cigars in production is issued to the cigar rollers for the day's work.
So after this, the leaves are sent to the cigar rollers to start the process of rolling on the cigar. So the male cigar rollers, they are known as torcedores, and the female cigar rollers are known as torcedores.
Finally, 3 years or more since the oldest leaf was picked, it is now about to become a Habano. There are 4 grades of torcedores.
So all the videos that you have seen before, this is a complete process of 3 years, and now the day is there after 3 years when the cigar rollers, they're actually using the leaves in order to make the Habano to provide it to a market further to sell it, right? So it's a process of complete 3 years that's taken. That means the cultivation that is going on in 2023 right now. So the cigars which will be made with the help of the cultivation which is going on right now, that will be available in the market for sale in 2026 or 27.
And only the top grade is allowed to make the biggest, most complicated Habanos. In a day, a torcedor can make 60 cigars of the most complicated vitolas, or sizes. The heart of any factory is la galera, or workshop. Here, torcedores make the different Habanos, brands, and vitolas. Tools used in the making of a totalmente a mano cigar are a wooden board, a cutter called chaveta, a guillotine, a pot of colorless and flavorless natural vegetable gum, a template to check length and girth, a little disc cutting casquillo, and above all, the practiced hands no machine can ever match. It takes many years to reach the peak of this time-honored craft, but one thing at least has changed. Most torcedores these days are women, torcedoras. In 1865, it was suggested that torcedores would work more pleasantly while listening to readings. The reader was born. Books read at the factories, such as Romeo and Juliet and the Count of Monte Cristo, were so popular that they lent their names to Habanos brands. The torcedor.
So before we get to see that how actually the torcedores would roll the cigar for you from fillers to binders and wrappers, you'll get a complete idea. You'll see a cigar here, right? So this band is very much important on the cigar, right? Before 19th century, this band was not supposed to be there on the cigars. So I told you that Spain was ruling, Cuba at that time. So they had a very famous influencer, or you can say the mayor, who was controlling or who was ruling, taking care of Cuba. He was also the biggest influencer in the European market for the cigars. So he was used to be a biggest cigar smoker. So people at that time used to wear white gloves, right? So that their hands they do not get the hands dirty. So when he used to smoke, cigars, his white gloves used to get the brown patches from the cigars. So this made him very unhappy, and he stopped smoking the Cuban cigars. So this also actually led to the decline of the sale of the Cuban cigars. Then they had, the marketing and the companies, they had a meeting. So we actually came up with the idea to introduce a band which will be beneficial in two ways for them. One, it will provide an identity of a brand which was not there actually before. So it will provide the identity. Let's suppose this is the CDD number 6 brand of Partagas, right? So it's giving an identity of a cigar. When anyone smoking, the other person can see what cigar that person is smoking, right? Which was not the idea there before. And secondly, when the people would smoke, they actually would have to, hold the cigar with the help of a band so that the brown patches doesn't come up on their white gloves. So this was the idea that actually came up and was very successful. After that, these bands were started on the cigars. So this actually doesn't happen, but still I'm giving you an idea. 1%, if it happens to you, you get any client in your resort, and he asks you that I want to smoke this cigar without the band, I want to remove the band. So gently ask him, tell him that do not remove the band, right? Just smoke it as it is, the way it is. Even if he tells you that no, I want to remove the band until I won't be buying this cigar from you. So you have to tell him that please smoke the cigar 1/4 at least. After that, you can, I'll be helping you in removing the band. Because if you would remove the band without smoking the cigar, this band is actually attached to the wrapper. So it will damage the complete wrapper of the cigar. So it would be of no use. But once your customer, your client smokes at least the 1/4 of the cigar, so that will loosen up the cigar, and this band would easily come out of the cigar without damaging the wrapper. So at that point, it can be removed. Else it won't happen to you, but I'm still giving you an idea if in case it happens to you 1%.
Cigar lays out the two or some. The torcedor, or torcedora, lays out the 2 or sometimes 3 half leaves that form the binder. Next, she gathers together the leaves of the filler, folding and aligning each leaf to ensure a straight passage for smoke.
So she's making the filler.
The stronger flavored, slower burning ligero leaf is always placed at the center. Now the torcedora forms the bunch by rolling the filler into the binder. The torcedora makes her bunches in batches and presses them for 30 minutes. The torcedora makes her bunch by rolling.
So this is the binder leaf that we have talked about before, that if this leaf is taken from the top part of the top part from the Criollo plant, in that case the cigar strength would be high. If it is taken from the middle, in that case the cigar strength would be middle. If it is taken from the bottom of the leaf of the plant, then the cigar strength would be low.
Rolling the filler into the binder. The torcedora makes her bunches in batches and presses them for 30 minutes or more in a wooden mold to set their shape.
This is the wrapper.
Once the half leaf is prepared for the wrapper, the bunch is laid on it and rolled. Since at the fingertips, carefully stretch and straighten the leaf. The tension in the leaf has to be perfect.
Now she'll place the cap at the head of the cigar.
Finally comes the cap, and the cigar is guillotined.
The cap is basically the area from where we find out, from where the cigar has to be cut.
She's using water or what to just check it?
Sorry?
She's using water or what?
Water?
She's using with this something.
That's the environmental friendly glue.
What?
Environmental friendly glue with no sedatives, no chemicals. I mean, it is made from a tree.
What's the name of the tree?
That I don't know. But it's an environmental friendly glue. Even if you can find it easily on the Amazon or something, because this glue is specially used only for the cigars, in order to paste the cigars.
Environmental glue. Speed का पड़ेगा.
Environmental friendly.
Between making and packing, the cigars are taken into the conditioning room or escaparate. Secret cabinets. They are left to rest and shed excessive moisture that was gained in the rolling process. After 1 week, they are smokable, but the longer they stay here, the better. Conditions are strictly maintained at between 16 and 18 degrees centigrade and 65 to 70% relative humidity, noticeably cooler and drier than the ambient human climate. The escaparate is often referred to as the treasure. It is here that the true wealth of the factory is stored.
So we'll discuss something about the humidor now. So this is your humidor that you will be placing in your bar area, right? And you have got 6 different brands available for you. So you have the tasting notes for all the brands with you. I would also certainly like you to go through when you have a time when you can sit and read out the things that's been given out for the tastings of the particular brands that you have. So this part that you see over here, that's called as hygrometer, which give you the information about that what percentage of humidity the box is having inside. So the ideal humidity level that should be there in the humidor, that's between 65 to 75%. Humidity is calculated in percentage. 65 to 75. Like the temperature is calculated in degrees, so the humidity is calculated in percentage. Okay. So you have 6 brands available with you. So it is up to you that how you display those brands, top or the bottom. The most important thing that you need to do and follow with the humidor is you need to check the humidity level at least 3 times a day. 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and 1 before you're leaving your shift, right? So it should be between 65 to 75. And this is your hygrometer. Sorry, it's a humidifier. And you have 2 humidifiers inside the humidor. And you have the magnet as well to stick it there. It's your wish where you want to stick it there inside the humidor. So if the humidity level it goes below 65, so what you need to do is you need to take out these humidifiers, and you need to put these humidifiers in a jar filled with water for at least 30 minutes, right? Take out the jar, take out the humidifier after 30 minutes, wipe it out, and then again place it. It will maintain back the temperature between 65 to 75. If the temperature goes above 75, which normally doesn't happen, because now it's it's increasing humidity outside as well. So in that case, what you need to do is you need to keep the door open for some time, unless and until the humidity level settles down. And even if this process doesn't work, after that you need to do is you need to remove the humidifiers from the humidor for some time, unless and until the humidity levels settle down between 65 to 70. You want me to repeat that again? Okay. So if 65 se niche jata hai, then in that case you need to keep the humidifiers in the water jar for 30 minutes, take them out, wipe it properly so that the cigars doesn't get wet, and then again place it in the humidor, right? If it goes above 75, first step is open the door, check it if it settles down. If it settles down and again it goes back again above 75 for some time, then after that remove the humidifiers till the time the humidity settles down between 65 to 75. Okay? Thirdly, what you need to do is, because this is a humidor, it's a box, right? So the humidity is something, air is not in control of anyone. You cannot hold the air. So in the humidor also, the humidity level cannot be same at the same place. I mean, it can be high at the top, it can be, it can be low at the top, it can be high at the bottom, right? Because humidity is increasing from here to here and then going down, right? So in order to make sure that every cigar is getting the proper humidity, after every 2-3 days you need to check the condition of the cigar. If you find any cigar that is getting dry, that is you find it hard to press, in that case you need to keep the cigar down, because at the bottom level the humidity is pretty much more than the top level, right? And in any place you find the cigar getting moist, which means when you press it, you feel like it's soggy or watery something. In that case, you need to place the cigar at the top, because we have a less humidity at the top. So in order for the cigar to settle down to its perfect shape and structure back again, we will put that moist, over humidified cigar at the top. You might even sometimes if in case the humidor gets over humidified for some time, you get white moistures on the top of the cigars. That might look like a fungus to you, but it is actually not a fungus. Or even just sometimes sees and says that you have the fungus on the cigars, but that's actually not a fungus. That's the moisture on the cigar, and you get it when the cigar gets over humidified. In that case, you get those white patches. In that case, what you need to do is you need to use a tissue paper to remove those white patches. If it is not going with the help of the wet, the dry tissue paper, then make the tissue paper wet, very low in contacts, and then wipe it on the cigar. That white patches will go, and you can tell the customer it's not a fungus. It's actually the moisture that has come up because the cigar got over humidified. Right?
Homemade process, homemade.
Any question you have in the maintenance of the humidor? So we'll see a video of a lighting and cutting of a cigar. Then we'll move forward for a demo as well. I'll show you how exactly to cut the cigar, what's the area from where you need to cut the cigar, and what's a traditional way of lighting up a cigar. Right?
A good Habano sommelier is qualified to offer, handle, and prepare Habanos for smoking. The selection of the right cigar is important, so his expertise can guide your choice. His advice does not end with size, because he also knows about the different brands and their flavors. His knowledge covers as well the best combinations of Habanos with your favorite meal, wines, and spirits. The first step is very delicate, therefore a firm hand will always help. The cut should be made just above the line where the cap meets the wrapper. On figurados, this should be done about 3 millimeters from the point. The Habano sommelier will not only be able to cut the cigar, but to light it, guests if asked. It's essential to light the cigar with an odorless flame. Long matches or cedar spills are required. Make sure the surface is evenly charred by rotating the cigar in the flame. The Habano sommelier should also take care not to stain the wrapper with the flame. This process takes approximately 1 minute. The cigar can then be served to the guest so that he can smoke his cigar, savoring all the subtle flavors and aromas of the tobaccos in the blend.
Right? So this is actually a traditional way of smoking the Habano cigars. Even since we have lakhs of cigar smokers in the cigar community in India, but still most of them they doesn't have an idea what is actually the traditional way of lighting and cutting of a cigar. Mostly people what they do is they just put the cigar in the mouth, they light up a lighter or a matchstick and they start inhaling and exhaling. So that's not the traditional way. Why we use this traditional way, and this is also a very good experience that you would forward to a customer or a client coming to your property, right? Which is actually he's unaware of. It would be a knowledgeable session for his as well. So this practice basically allows every filler part to burn properly or catch fire, which allows the cigars to give the aroma what exactly it's famous for. Right? Though you get the aroma when you do the other ways as well, but since this is a traditional way and it is letting every part of the filler to burn properly, so this actually makes an experience of a cigar smoker as different as he is doing his own way of lighting and cutting. Right? So we'll go outside and we'll experience this, how to cut the cigar and how to light up the cigar. Right? And if any of you would like to smoke, you can do it. Otherwise, I'm there to smoke.
Everybody is smoker.
You'll go now? Let's go to the children's play area.
So this is basically, I'll give you an idea about this. This is a hazelnut case, right? So let's say someone comes here and smokes a cigar, and after a few minutes he decides to not smoke here. He wants to take away to his home or the other place and want to smoke there. So this is basically his and her case, right? When if a man is taking this case, it's called in his case. A female is taking this case, it's called the her case. So this is how you would close it from here from the bottom. You can put up to like 4 to 5 cigars easily in there and just hold it like this.
What is the cutter?
No? No, you don't have to give the cutter to the guest. If you give the cutter to the guest, that you have to charge the amount for that. I mean, the cutter is not always free. So it's only for you as a associate. But if the guest wants to buy this cutter, in that case you can call me up and ask me if I can send the cutter as soon as possible to you. Right, then you can send the cutter to the guest. But the cutters are only for you to cut and provide the cigars to the guest. So this is how you would put the cigars here in this box, carry box, and this is how the guest will take it. So it's basically a nice presentation, right? So that the guest is not just handling the cigar and putting it in his pocket and going away. This is just a very nice presentation of providing kind of a gift pack to the customer or the client. So you have seen the the display how you would do it, and this is your another humidor. This is a small humidor. You have this humidity level, which is right now 48 around something. So you have to calibrate it. You have to put this humidifier So this is basically a sponge that you would use it. You need to make it wet and just wipe out the inside wooden part of the humidor. And this is your humidifier. So since the humidity level is below 65, what we would do with this?
Dip in 30
Dip in water for 30 minutes. After that, take it out, wipe it out, and then place it back again. And close the humidor. After 1.5 hours, 2 hours, you will find that the humidity level would be between 65 to 75. Right? So this is the basic 65 to 75 should be remembered. In between, the humidity level should be there, not below 65 or not above 75.
You can try now.
दिन का कुछ हो सकता है इसमें कितने दिन के बाद आप इसको चेंज कर सकते हैं या फिर टेम्परेचर देख के चेंज करना है?
ये टेम्परेचर देख के चेंज करना है.
3 times per day.
Cigars आपको check करने हैं every 3 days. This dipping it's need to be done only when it's required. Right? This
After 2 days, after 3 days, या whenever the requirement whenever.
only then you have to do it. Other than that, if it's working for 6 months, it's showing you between 60 to 75, you don't have to do anything. You just have to check the condition. If you find it, dry, you have to place it at the bottom.
बट पिछला जो हमारा था वो 65 to 70 दिखा रहा था, लेकिन जो सिगार थे हमारे वो जो है ना उनका वो पैच कर रहा था.
These are not the fungus. It's basically ये क्यों आते हैं because the maintenance is also it's very much important. आपका वाइन को पता है वाइन are kept in a wine chillers, right? To make sure the wine doesn't get उसका टेस्ट खराब ना हो जाए. And wine doesn't have an expiry. The same way the cigars don't have an expiry. It's just like how you have the information knowledge to take care of the cigars. So every 3 days it's very much important you check the condition of the cigars. अगर कहीं पे you see excess moisture coming up from the cigars, you wipe it out with the tissue paper, right? So that it's not getting transferred to the other cigars. This is very important. After every 2-3 days, you need to check the condition of the cigar.
Going down now. Anything else you want to say other than the lighting up? Yeah. Just keep it all. It's all under inventory. Yeah. Let's go down, guys. Let's go to children's play area.
टीवी की फोटो किसी का गोविंद so we can try the
You are the press person. Keep on recording. Don't touch anything. Don't do anything.
Okay, sir.
Keep on doing.
कैसा बैंक्वेट मैनेजर है
एक बार वही वाली लाइन बोलते आई एम
या तो तेरे पास होना चाहिए या इसके पास होना चाहिए.
Gold दिया.
कितना है वो बताए तो 3 ईयर का
अब चल रहा है बकवास कर रही
वीडियो बनवा रही है वीडियो तो भूल गए कोई पीछे वाले सबको बता दो लाइव चल रहा है
He will be a extra. I think. Okay. Who's here? Extra. Outside match. Sir, you stand here. Let's take it out. Come on, guys. Come on. Come on. Let's.
You see here, this is the cabin area. This is actually the area
Cabin,
from
yeah.
where you have to cut the cigar. This is called as a cedar pin. I've given you a bunch of it. This is used as an alternative to burn the cigar. Cedar pin is used in order to, this is basically have a low combustibility. So it burns very slowly. So cigar takes time to light up. So it can also be used as an alternative for lighting up a cigar apart from matchstick. So you need to light up the matchstick and you need to place the cigar 90 degrees to the flame. You don't have to place it over the flame. You just have to make sure that the flame is touching lightly the tip of the cigar. So once you do it for a few seconds, then rotate the cigar 360 degrees. Because when you do this, the filler, it actually spreads that flame to the every part of the filler. Right? It is letting the air to get inside.
सारे पीते
सर कौन नहीं पीते
Inhale and exhale.
ऐसा तो करना नहीं था.
Inhale, exhale नहीं करोगे तो चलेगा कैसे?
जो बंद करने के लिए था.
3 times you have to do that process. Then you put the cigar in the mouth of the guest and ask him to inhale and exhale. You light up a matchstick and you put the matchstick in front of the cigar and ask him to inhale and exhale. Do this 3 times, then the cigar is good to go. And then after that you can light it. Try करने किसी को anyone wants to try?
Let's have a group photo.